Today, my friend Jay, the coin guy, joins me to break down Pre-1933 U.S. gold, why collectors love it, how to choose the right coins for your budget, and how type collecting can help you start collecting like a pro. Welcome to Money Trade, your guide to building real wealth with gold and silver coins. Jay, you've brought us an assortment of different denominations of U.S. gold coins here, quite frankly, that I'm envious of. How should we start talking about this group?
Well, I think we should say, first of all, it's beautiful. This is the original money that our grandparents and great-grandparents used in daily transactions. That's why not a lot of it is in uncirculated or mint state conditions, is what the collectors really like to get if they can. But you don't see any of that stuff before like 1880. All that stuff is well worn or was melted during the Great Melt of 1933. So we really don't have as many coins as the original mintage figures show.
So we have here an assortment of fractional gold in the longest running U.S. gold design, the Liberty Head, or more specifically, the Coronet Liberty Head. These sizes are close equivalents to 1/20th, 1/10th, 1/4, 1/2, and 1 ounce sizes. The first of these were designed by Christian Gobrecht, starting with the $10 coin in 1838, followed by the $5 in 1839, and the $2.50 in 1840. Later in 1849, James B. Longacre adapted the design for the $1 and $20 sizes. Some were later changed to Indian head designs and the Saint-Gaudens $20 coin. Let's first go through the Liberty Head design in order of denomination. So this is the Type 1 $1 coin. It's 13 millimeters in diameter. Gold coins were already being made in America, but having a $1 gold coin was new, right?
Well, in 1849, the first year, they didn't make as many because it was the first year and they hadn't hit the gold in California yet to give them a big supply.
Right. The California gold rush was about to supercharge the gold supply, enabling gold coinage to increase greatly as the Industrial Revolution in the U.S. built a thriving economy.
That was $1 worth of gold in the day. As you can see, it's quite small. It's about the size of a dime or even less, and it's considered one of America's smallest coins. You need a coin purse to carry those things around. Who knows how many were lost? They're quite neat.
So you could conceivably find one of these lost in between floorboards or in an attic in an old eastern U.S. house or building, or at a beach using a metal detector?
You can find them, but I'm sure they've all been collected by now.
Or they're deep down or deep out to sea.
Now remember, $1 was a lot of money back in 1849, so you're looking at a considerable amount of money. $1 could pay for a night's stay in a hotel, including the meal. So there's a lot of purchasing power with $1.
What kind of item could you have bought with $1 back in 1849?
Remember, that's 11 or 12 years before the Civil War. We had an agrarian society. A lot of people were farmers, and you could buy a bushel of corn for about 5 pennies. So that's 100 pennies, or in those days they were called large cents or just cents. Pennies are British, but cents are American. So for $1 you could buy a lot of corn or a lot of wheat or a lot of commodity.
Can you talk about the types of $1 gold coins?
So they started off with a 13 millimeter, like you mentioned, and they found them to be quite small. They actually made them a little bigger in the Type 2 and 3.
And they went to having Lady Liberty wearing an American Indian headdress. And it's pretty easy to tell it's a woman. Although it was funny, I grew up thinking that the Indian head cents were male Indian chiefs, when they too are Lady Liberty wearing a feathered headdress.
You can see the design difference on the Type 2s and Type 3s. They went to the Indian Princess, and those are the same weights, but they made them 15 millimeters, so they added 2 millimeters, which really didn't add that much to the size, but it did make them slightly bigger. When they're side by side, you can tell. But you would still need your little change purse to put them in there because they'd get lost in the crease of your pocket.
Okay, and then increasing by denomination, here's the $2.50 Liberty coin. These were about the size of the modern dime at 18 millimeters. Then we have the $5 denomination at 21.6 millimeters. And here's the $10 at 27 millimeters. And the $10 gold coins had already been established since early on in America as a standard unit of gold. This was sometimes referred to as a gold eagle. And then the $20 coin came out in 1850 and is often referred to as the double eagle and comes in at a size of 34.1 millimeters. Once this $20 Liberty came out, the U.S. Mint was producing a full line of denominations, all with Lady Liberty's head and the same look on all the coins.
So they went by size, so you could tell how much gold was in them and what the denomination was. So you could basically feel the size of the coin in your change purse or in your pocket. Obviously, it went all the way up to a $20 gold piece, which was quite noticeable, but the difference between a 2.5 and 5 wasn't that noticeable except by the size. And you got to know your money really well. But there was no change in the design. They were all the same boring design according to Theodore Roosevelt.
That's right. He wrote a famous letter in 1905 criticizing the artistic quality of American coins. He specifically called U.S. coinage atrociously hideous and argued that a great nation should have coins reflecting classical artistic standards. So by 1907, he was making moves to do just that.
Yeah, he was a dynamic guy and decided, we needed to change the look of the money. So he contacted a very famous sculptor by the name of Augustus Saint-Gaudens, and he asked him if he could design some new money. And Gaudens came up with a new $20 design, which we know as the Saint-Gaudens, or the Walking Lady. And after that, he also came up with the $10 Indian, which is Lady Liberty wearing a headdress. And those two designs were well received. And then, unfortunately, he had cancer and died the next year and wasn't able to design any more of our coinage.
Now that we've seen an assortment of classic U.S. gold coins, let's talk about type collecting as it relates to new collectors.
Well, the average collector is not a wealthy person, even though coin collecting was the domain of kings and very wealthy many years ago. But if you want to collect coins, it's a fabulous hobby. The history and the art and the stories behind the coins are fascinating to learn and read about. And type collecting allows you to buy one example of each type. Today, we're showing 11 different coins that represent the vintage gold of the day. Even though they made them every year, you just need one example to see the size and the design, the color, the feel of the coins. The coins we're photographing today are all certified by either PCGS or NGC, which are the two leading services in America for grading coins.
Just know that this video isn't sponsored in any way by PCGS or NGC. We're not getting any money from them. But Jay, I know you and I do share opinions on the many advantages to having certified coins. Should we talk about the highest grade examples that maybe you can reasonably get price-wise in each type of coin we're showing?
In my opinion, you should buy the highest grade you can afford if it makes sense. And what I mean by that is you can buy an almost uncirculated coin or a high uncirculated coin. If the price is within a few dollars of each other, it's better to buy the higher graded coin. However, if there's a big price difference and you can't afford the higher grade coin, you should buy a coin you can afford and will enjoy looking at. And quite honestly, the difference between like a almost uncirculated coin in 58 and a uncirculated coin in 63 may not be that dramatic. And you can still enjoy a nice 58 or 55 graded coin and not pay the extreme bucks for the much higher grade.
Okay, let's finish addressing the coins we have here today by talking about the contribution from Norwich, Connecticut-born Bella Lyon Pratt, who was selected by Saint-Gaudens to redesign the $2.50 and $5 gold coins for circulation starting in 1908.
Right. Like I said, from 1838 to 1907, Lady Liberty was on all the denominations, the 1, the 2.50, the 5, the 10, and the $20. And it wasn't until they decided to change the money that the $20 became the Saint, or Saint-Gaudens, the $10 is an Indian. And then what's really interesting is the 2.50 and the $5 gold pieces were made as Indians, real Indians, not Liberty, but with a depiction of an Indian. Wasn't a particular Indian, but it was a composite look.
Exactly. This design was definitely a male Native American chief, portrayed with a distinctly rugged, masculine presence. We should say Native American imagery had become a cultural motif in the United States, often filtered through a romanticized lens. This emphasized spirituality, a deep connection to the land, and the archetypes of the frontier, explorers, cowboys, and Indians as part of a national identity narrative. And definitely this imagery was not intended to reflect the struggles between settlers and native peoples, nor the lived realities of either group. Instead, it expressed an idealized vision of Western expansion using Native American symbolism as a way to create coinage that felt uniquely and distinctly American. Another thing that makes these two coins special is that they're the only U.S. coins intended for circulation with an Incuse design.
They were stamped into the metal, not raised above the metal. And those are much more difficult to grade because the wear is actually on the surface and not in the details underneath the surface.
Yeah, you can see here how it's stamped into the flat planchet.
And then it's stamped into
the
it.
The design's stamped into it rather than striking the coin in such a way that it fills in higher areas in the die.
Right, so the wear is going to be under the surface, and you're going to see that in the feathers and the fine details. So the key is to look at a lot of different examples and educate your eye as to the fine differences, because it's going to be harder to grade as opposed to the raised coins. That's one of the reasons why I like to trust NGC and PCGS to do the heavy lifting and to grade the coins for me, so I don't have to guess and I don't have to take the word of a coin dealer or a reseller, somebody with a vested interest in selling it to me.
That's exactly how I felt about these Indians when I was first starting out. The Incuse Indians especially, I thought, like, I don't know anything about those. I don't know if I can even, really look at that on eBay and judge it. I mean, buying it from a respectable dealer, that's a good way to go.
Absolutely, but also as added insurance policy, having a slabbed coin, especially if you're spending your hard-earned money, anything over $250, $300, it costs somebody at some point in time about $40 to slab the coin and up to 4 months to get it back from the slabbing service. So that's already been done for you ahead of time. Somebody's absorbed that cost into the price, and a lot of times it doesn't even reflect the price that you're paying because you're getting a gift from somebody that had it done ahead of time. Obviously, they were fishing for a higher grade and looking to make bigger bucks off the coin, but if the coin came in at or lower than they expected, you're the beneficiary if you can buy it at a good price.
So Jay, you generally try to get the highest grade coin you can, not necessarily a key date or mint mark that costs more?
That's true, but to be quite honest with you, a lot of times I'm presented with just a limited selection of coins at a coin dealer, and that's why I like to go to coin shows and coin conventions, because you have a much bigger body of choices at those conventions and shows. When you're at a coin shop, you're limited to what his inventory is, and it's a take it or leave it type of thing, and you have a very narrow range of coins to pick from. So sometimes it's just the availability of the coins to choose from, but if you happen to go to a show and you have a big availability, you should have a shopping list or a want list to work off of so that you don't get overwhelmed by all the coins.
Talk about the accessibility of these coins because of the variety of sizes that are available.
Type 1, 2, and 3 are small coins. You're paying a big premium for the gold value, but they're historical, they're interesting, and the last year was 1889, so they're well over 125 years old. What you need to know, though, is the bigger the coin, obviously the more expensive it is because of the gold content, but the premium for the coin drops. So you're going to pay a bigger premium for a $5 than you will for a $20 in a lot of cases, because although you have to pay for the gold, and the gold price is what it is, the historical or the collector premium drops the bigger the coin gets. And also what you should know is that the $5 gold coin was the most used coin, whereas the $20 were sitting in banks a lot and didn't circulate as much. So the $5 gold piece is actually the most circulated coin. And when they melted the coins, the most melted coin in 1933, when Roosevelt called the gold, was the $10 gold piece, when over half the coins that were minted were melted melted. And there's actually a chart that you can look up to see what denominations were melted. However, they didn't write down the mint marks and the dates, which you can only trust the population figures now by NGC and PCGS to have any inclination of what still exists.
Is this a great a date? I like the 1899. I mean, it's almost 1900.
Well, just like in 1999, there was a lot of hype about the turn of the century.
Y2K.
Yeah, well, they had
Y1K.
19, or whatever it was. They didn't have computers back then, so they weren't worried about their computers going bonkers, but people did get excited about certain years, and 1899 was definitely, and 1900 were really exciting years.
Okay, well, Jay, I'm so glad you were here. Thank you so much for bringing some coins. I really love the artistic legacy that these represent and the accessibility of them to different kinds of collectors. You can often get these in a certified mint state grade for just over the price of bullion. And higher grades in such beautiful designs can be the highlight of a premium collection. So whether you're a gold stacker or a type collector, or just want a couple pieces of American history, take a closer look at Pre-1933 U.S. gold.
Everything's in your red book, all the details, information about designers, about sizes, the weights of the coins are all there.
There is a link in the video description for the best price on the red book and the large print red book, which makes things really easy if you're always looking things up.
I encourage everybody to have a red book, read the red book, study the red book, and then also take a look at other publications, because knowledge is king, and when you know what you're doing, you'll enjoy the hobby a lot more.
And if you enjoyed this video, please help me continue bringing you more. The video is not sponsored, not even YouTube is paying me, so please give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's keep providing free content to you that promotes the hobby. Good luck in your hunt for the best gold for your stash, and enjoy collecting.